yeah, that's what we're doing, testing a new mic. So we just go to one of my favourite old things, which is adjusting the coastline around Waiheke. I love it. So for starters, I'll get some imagery. All I want is the LINZ aerial imagery I've already got, and this other one from 2015, 2016, which provides a... oh, nope, wrong one. Hold on. Where does that take me to? Oh yeah. Okay, so it just doesn't go all the way to the bottom end of Waiheke. So this bit that's flashing is the older imagery. So the reason why I like to have that is so that I get kind of two different viewpoints to work with that are sometimes at different tide levels. But here it looks like they're pretty similar tides. But they can be useful especially for yeah, for areas that change a lot at different tides. So I'm going to bring in another view for that to get multiple different views, because you want to draw the coastline at its kind of high tide. You don't want to draw your coastline at like low tide rocks. So here, for example, like you wouldn't draw it all the way out there. You'd bring it in. So it looks like maybe this Bing one looks like it's more crispy than the Max are. Far out, it's really windy outside, it's like shaking my windows. Anywho, let's download a section and see what we're working with. So I have my little download everything in the extent. Okay, so here we can see it looks like I'm trying to find out how far I got to last time I stopped doing this. Really, did I not get around to here even? It looks like... wow, I didn't get past Hooks Bay, so this is Hooks Bay. So here I can tell this is an area where I have worked, because the coastline is coming into this rock area. So this area I've just highlighted in red is the natural bare rock and my coastline comes into it, whereas as we come around down to south of Hooks Bay, this is how the data would have been originally imported from LINZ. This is how it's represented in LINZ topo maps, which is where the data was sourced from. So the coastline comes up to a given point, and then bare rock is only after that, which means that the bare rock is always, from an OSM perspective, it's always in the ocean, which means that we never get to see in typical OSM rendering, we never see any bare rock on the land side. Everything is considered underwater. So I might just show what I mean by that by turning on the Kato as an option. So this is what I mean by default OSM rendering. It's the OSM Kato, which is the one on the main website. Obviously there's a lot of different renderers that handle this in different ways. So in the areas where I have worked, I have bare rock, which is this grey textured stuff. I have it on the land side of the coastline, so it does render. And I've created little islets, things like that. So if I turn that off, so you can see I'm kind of representing the coastline at kind of higher resolution, higher fidelity, I don't know. I just think it's cool, and I think it's more accurate. And to be honest, like if I was exploring the coastline on a kayak, it's kind of useful. Like I would know if I just had my phone with some sort of OSM loaded onto it, I'd know, okay, around this next little headland there's going to be a little pebbly beach I can pull into. And sure enough, yeah, you could pull in there in your kayak, hang out, have a sandwich. Whereas if we continue around the coastline to where I haven't, this is what you get. You just get the coastline ending with this kind of beige shade is just empty, unmapped area. There's no sort of land use at all on that. And here we have the bush line coming right up to the water. Even though in the data there is the section of bare rock, because it's on the water side of the coastline, it does not render in the map. So there's even islands in there, so those would have been coming from the from the import. And those are actually cut out of the bare rock, even though I'm pretty confident that that's going to be basically a big rock. Yep. So in all fairness, that should be bare rock. So my process to continue will be I don't really touch the bare rock very much, but what I do is I grab this coastline, so I'm selecting the nodes along this coastline. And then I'm going to hit G, which will unglue them. So you can see, if you can see between these two different nodes, this is a little one and this is a big one. So the big ones, the fat ones, mean that there's multiple OSM features that are sharing that node. So there's, the term is glued. There are features that are glued together, so you could also call that snapped together. So all of these ones I've highlighted is where the coastline is glued to the bare rock polygon. But because of what I'm going to do to refine it, I need to unglue those. So tools, unglue ways, duplicate nodes that are used by multiple ways. So it's telling me that it can't unglue it because I haven't selected the way that I want to unglue it from. So I'm shift clicking the coastline, hitting G, and now I have unglued it, and it's warning me that some multi-polygons are affected by that. And so now my nodes, you'll see they're little ones. So there are actually now, where there was one node shared by both, there's now two nodes overlapping. So if I click and drag that, you'll see. So I've unglued the nodes. Okay, so now I'm going to start refining my coastline. So I select my coastline, and I'm going to enter mode, improve way accuracy, W. And this gives you a mode where you, which is designed to refine a way, an edge of a way. So as you move your mouse around, it snaps to the nearest node of that way, and you click to reposition it. So right now, where my crosshair is, it's going to reposition that node south of it. Click. And so in this mode I can go along and kind of refine the coastline reusing the existing nodes. And at any point, if you hold down Control, I'm adding a new node between the two closest nodes. So by doing that, you could get crazy like that and refine it. And opposite of that is holding down Alt, and that's going to delete the closest node. So a super handy tool when you're refining the edges of polygons, or maybe a road was drawn really roughly and you're refining a curve or something. Cool, so this coastline. So could do this sort of thing. But as I said before, we're supposed to be drawing this to the high water mark. And it's very likely that this image I'm looking at now was taken during a low tide, so a lot of this rock will actually be underwater at high tide, so I shouldn't be pushing the coastline out that far. To confirm that, I'll load up these other layers to refer to them, and just by chance they were taken at high tide. So I'm going to toggle between the two different layers to kind of get a feel for where I feel like the coastline should be. So to switch between these layers, I'm holding down Alt and then you select the number of the layer, and that will toggle Let's Show Hide. So if I go Alt 4, that is toggling Max R Premium. So that's basically what my left hand is doing, while my right hand is going around and refining this coastline. So all of this bare rock is actually, it's kind of underwater at high tide. There is these little beaches here which I'll be adding in. Looks pretty nice around here. You've got public access. See this path here? If you're ever in Waiheke, you want to do a little tramp that comes down from the what's it called? Stony Batter. It's a dock historic site here. You can park the car around here, and then you walk along here to visit the old gun emplacements. It's really beautiful out there. Highly recommend this. And then if you want to really extend your walk, you walk from the gun emplacements down the hill down to these little beaches. Pretty nice day out. Okay, so my blue coastline, I've refined all of this. I've redrawn it a bit closer. And so now my bare rock, I'm going to adjust this a bit. So again, I'm going to hit W, and I am going to refine it a bit on the seaward side, because now this is where the low tide imagery does come in handy, because I can see, you know, that's not bare rock. There's no sense in having the bare rock extend out that far. I do just do it quite roughly out at sea, because, you know, this isn't highly precise. This is, sand can shift over time, it can uncover rock. You know, this is not going to be used for a high level accuracy. This is just to be indicative of where the rock goes out to. So it's actually pretty good. Some renderers will render this stone all the way out. I can show one of those. Lost stone, bare rock. So this is the default kata. Oh, turn off show data. Crap. Hey, I've frozen it by trying to load data. Cool. So cycle OSM is one that does render the bare rock all the way out to the extent of the polygon instead of cutting it off at the coastline. So these different layers, it's always interesting to see how they each render it. The other ones are a lot slower than Kato, though it takes a while for them to render. Okay, there we go. So it's pretty clear. This is standard Kato, it cuts it off where the coastline's been drawn, whereas Cycle OSM has made the decision to render the bare rock as far as it's drawn. That's just a choice they made when designing their renderer. It does mean you don't get the really intricate details of the coastline. So I'm only editing up to about this point. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I've done on the seaward side. Now I'm going to come in and get pretty accurate with where the stone comes up to along the cliff. So here, for example, I'm going to bring it out so make some room for the sand that's going to be in there. This is interesting because there's bare rock, then there's sand, and then it kind of goes to bare rock again. So for the purposes of what I'm doing, I might just do that. No. This is interesting. I didn't adjust the coastline here, did I? I need to bring that right back in here. Unglue that. Okay, and now I'm going to add some beaches. We'll add some sand. So hitting A to start a new polygon. And I might just do it from around here. And I'm going to join it up to the edge of my bare rock. And then go to the cliff face. Yeah, go to the cliff face. Which I'm going to then so that I'm calling a beach, and it is a sandy beach. Maybe it's more like pebbles, but whatever. Oh, okay, I hit the wrong button. I meant to hit W, I hit 2. W, so I'm refining this beach polygon now, and it's because I'm going to bring the cliff right up to where I'm seeing the cliff. Okay. And you know what, I might just join this up. So I've brought this node right and close to that one, and then I'm going to hit M and it merges it. It snaps it. And then I'm going to overlap that one. And then I'm going to select both beaches and hit Shift J, which merges them, because that's essentially one beach, even though it gets a bit tight around that headland. Yeah, I can live with that. Okay, and here we've got a little beach as well, so same deal. Draw that up to there. Beach. I'm not going to specify the surface because I don't really know. I think it's kind of a rough sand. And yeah, same deal, let's extend that all the way out. Selecting these two nodes, hitting M to snap them. Snap, snap, snap. Cool. And I'm just going to do this little cove here as well. So this is kind of weird, saying that there's a stream that comes through this kind of wetland. And then I guess it kind of comes down through here past this Putakawa, but it's hard to tell. So I'm not really gonna... it's bothering me a bit. Maybe I'll just have to go walk there and visit. But I feel like it's pretty likely that it has a little waterfall. Must be quite cute actually. It must kind of tumble down the cliff through here and then flow along the edge of the beach into the water. Yeah, definitely not going to see it with any of the other imagery. Can't see it in this one. I might just make that assumption. I'm going to unglue that, drag it there. So streams are technically supposed to end at the coast, so it does make sense to glue it to the coastline now. But what I want to do is unglue the coastline from the bare rock, like I did last time. So selecting the nodes. So I have the rock and the node selected, so when I hit G, I don't have the rock selected. G, okay, that has unglued these red nodes from the bare rock. So when I select the coastline, so it keeps selecting the rock when I click here, so to select the other feature that's under my mouse, I hold down Alt. So holding down Alt and then clicking will like cycle between the different features that are under there. So yeah, now I've got the coastline selected, do I? Yes, you can check the tag there, natural coastline. And I hit W to start refining my coastline some more. So from the high tide imagery, which is low quality, I can see there's kind of a bit of an outcrop rock there. And then when I turn on the crisper imagery, I can see, yeah, this is the outcrop here, so I can then kind of draw really accurately around that. It's probably a level of accuracy that isn't required, but I'm here, I'm micro mapping, so I might as well. So same here, in the low res high tide imagery I can see there's an outcrop that remains out, and that's this rock here, so do that. And then that's where our stream comes out. Okay. So here I can sort of tell from the color of the rock whether it's something that goes underwater or stays above water at high tide. So the lighter stuff has probably got oysters and stuff, that's why it's light, whereas this darker rock stays dry most of the time. So that can help me draw the coastline as well. Sweet. So that's my coastline adjusted, and now I'll select my rock. Hold on, what have I done? Where was I working here? W, okay. So now I'm refining the bare rock. So the bare rock starts there. I could even, what I've done in other coves where it really opens up more is I split the bare rock into one off to the side and one off to that side, rather than having it continue across. But here you can see underwater there is bare rock there, so it makes sense to have it cover across. Okay, and here it definitely goes a much further inland than what was previously drawn. Okay, I'm not going to touch this just because I said that's where I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to go this far. And now I'm going to draw my beach. Man, these beaches look good. They're making me dream of summer. Beach. Cool. So the other feature we have got here is this, which is natural wood. So clearly that is not extending all the way onto the beach. So I'm gonna unglue these nodes. Oh, so I've selected these red nodes that I want to unglue from the wood. So they're unglued, and then I hit delete, and you can see it's pulled the wood back away from that coastline. And then I can refine it to where it makes sense for the wood to go. So looks like there was a landslip there, so that's no longer wood. So I can pull it all the way back away from that landslide. still go up to there, to the edge of the stone, the rock. And then I'm just clipping those nodes. So this area in here will at this point be unmapped. It's not beach, it's not woods. I'm not going to try to figure out a tag to fit. Landslide, I think just default bare OpenStreetMap unmapped area will do fine. Which is how all of this will be as well. So when I say unmapped area, I mean like all of this that you can see around the edge. There's quite a lot of it around there. Yeah, you go anywhere, you'll find a lot of it. So this is all just kind of unspecified ground. It doesn't have a land cover of any sort mapped over it. And that's totally okay. Okay, so in that time I've adjusted the coastline from the south end of Hooks Bay around a few little coves as far as here. And that's probably all I'm going to do for now. These little mushroom things I think are an import from LINZ. Sea mark rock. So I think they're from marine charts. So that's where your marine chart would tell you don't anchor your boat around here, I guess, or don't sail through. Here be rocks. But yeah, I don't think it's recommended to be using OSM as a sea chart. Cool. You know what? I'm going to do this little headland between the two beaches. I've been out here once actually. I remember walking around here and in this kind of sandstone rock slip area there was a massive colony of native bees which burrowed into, yeah, right in there. They were burrowing into this little islet and it was pretty cool to watch. They were all swarming out. They each have their own little hole in the sandstone and they were all buzzing up and getting like manuka flower. But anyway, the map here needs a bit of work, needs a little bit of love. So yeah, I think this is where I've called it. That's where I ended it last time. So let's start by just refining the speech a bit. So you'll see my beach polygon extends kind of as far as the sand goes at low tide, but the coastline is pulled right into more like the high tide mark. That's just sort of ticking the boxes of representing the beach at its full extent, but having the coastline at a high tide mark. which is the guidelines that I've seen in the wiki. I'm sure it's done in all manner of different ways around the world, but following the guidelines is best we can do. Okay, and now this is bare rock to represent this kind of rocky cape, well, little mini headland. So I'm going to bring this right in because it's so these polygons, actually, this should be interesting. If I load in the topo 50 maps, it'll be clear that they are not so clear. Those bare rock polygons should relate to where you see this drawn, which is how coastal rocks are represented on LINZ Topo 50. So if I go out to Kauri Point and download the OSM data there, it's already downloaded, but you'll see that purple bare rock area. Okay, not as closely as I thought it would, but yeah, it clearly does relate to it. And that's because, yeah, the topo maps are put together by LINZ, the polygons were imported by LINZ. The polygons were sourced from LINZ. I don't know if they were necessarily imported by LINZ. I'm sure some folks there were involved. And so the point I wanted to make there is that they were drawn for a certain scale of map, so that's why they're quite an approximation. Like, you can zoom in much further on OSM than what is expected for a topo 50. Hence micro mapping in OSM. Okay, not that level. Cool. So I've got beach, then rock, then beach again, but my coastline still needs improving that. So I'm gonna go like that. I might merge them all there. Same there. And then along this beach, that's looking all good. Cool, and now we're back to where we've been working. Sweet, so that's Hooks Bay, coastline refined. Okay, I've got some nodes it's warning me about. Let's have a look. Okay, so I'm just going to merge those. Now it's one node. Refine, coastline, Hooks Bay. So there we go for my source, LINZ, NZ aerial imagery, and Maxa uploaded. cool. So, something to know about whenever you're adjusting the coastline. So if you're used to opening OSM, you are probably familiar with hopping onto osm.org and then shift refreshing to refresh the tile cache and see your changes come through. And we will see some changes here, but keep in mind where that coastline is. This is the coastline before my changes were made, but obviously I've made all sorts of refinements to it now. But what we'll see is that the land cover features will have updated, the coastline does not, and that's because coastlines are such a complex concept in mapping generally, but in the OSM data structure specifically, that they don't update that live. That's done on a schedule that it's not necessarily, it's definitely not frequent. It's more like days to weeks. Alright, here we go. So you can see my new land cover feature updates have been through, but because the coastline hasn't been updated, it's still looking pretty, well, it's not looking as nicely refined as we'd hope. So just to illustrate that further, if I do turn on the map data, yeah, there you can see that this line here will be the coastline. So yeah, once it's updated it will show that. So this will be a rocky outcrop, this will be a beach, more rockiness, cove. So yeah, basically you gotta sit tight, come back in a few days, and hopefully by then the coastline will have updated as well. So yeah, this coastline refining, I started it in one of the lockdowns in 2021, like after I'd finished my day at work, had dinner, I'd kill time by refining coastlines. I started around here somewhere, so I've done from kind of Blackpool all the way around this coastline, all the way through here. So that's why you've got quite intricate coastline here, with every little cove mapped out. Little rocky, the rocks that are just along the shoreline. So I think it's a really cool effect. I think it's makes for a way more interesting coastline. And for example, this is Big Oneiroa Beach, Little Low. So these are rocks where you can sort of walk around. At high tide it gets very difficult, especially around here. But generally you can kind of make your way around those rocks. And Enclosure Bay over here, it's pretty cool too, because if you know Enclosure Bay, it's kind of a lagoon with these big rocks here with little channels between them. So yeah, I've gone all the way down. I've done the entire northern coast, and now I'm, yeah, well, we've just started making our way down Hooks Bay. So there's still a lot to do. But yeah, you can compare how refined the coastline is here versus somewhere where it hasn't been touched. So let's go to like somewhere that will have similar coast. Like, I'm sure that around here it'll be very similar kinds of coves. Let's have a look at the aerial. Yeah, so So you can see it's very similar coastline around there, but because it hasn't been refined in the same way that I've done it on Waiheke, the way that it renders, it's kind of doesn't tell you as much. If we switch to the cycle one, you'll see you will get the you will see the bare rock. Come on. Yeah. And then I've seen maps that have sourced the coastline from OSM, and then then I'm really chuffed to see the coastline that I've painstakingly traced out show up on their maps. An example of that was the cycle map used by the rental place down at Matiatia Wharf. They give out a map to all of their customers, and they've got a big one printed up on the side of their box. And yeah, you can see that it's got exactly all the little indentations and rocks that are from this coastline. So just a way of spending time and showing some love to the map for an area that I love. Cool coastlines. But yeah, painstaking work, and there's a shitload of coastline out there. Alright, I think I'll leave it there, and I'm gonna listen to this, and hopefully my mic has been working this whole time and sounds better than my other one. Bye.